Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our inaugural lunch series talks. I'm so excited to be with all of you today. My name is Audrey Dow, for those of you that don't know me, and I'm the Senior Vice President at the Campaign for College Opportunity. And today I'm just delighted to be joined by Mr. Joseph Williams, who is our newest appointee to the California Board of Governors. So please join me in welcoming Joseph. I'm so thrilled you're here with us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yay. For everyone tuning in today, the Campaign for College Opportunity likes to make sure that all of you are having an opportunity to meet and hear from our newly appointed and elected higher education officials. These lunch series conversations are really your opportunity to, in an informal setting, have some lunch and hear a little bit about the stories of the individuals who are coming into these positions of power within our California higher education systems, and to hear a little bit about their priorities as they come into these seats. We'll also reserve a little bit of time towards the end of our time together today. We'll have about 45 minutes. So right around 12:30, we'll invite you to share your questions that you have for whoever our speaker is. And today it is Joseph Williams, but the rest of our series will follow this format where we'll hear a little bit of background, hear about some priorities, and then have a chance for all of you who are watching to ask your questions. So with that, I will jump in to briefly introduce Joseph, because he will be talking about himself. But Joseph is currently the Public Affairs Manager with Southern California Edison, is currently a trustee serving on the San Bernardino Community College District Board of Trustees. And he's also, one of the ways I got to know Joseph was through his work as the founder and current board president of the Youth Action Project, a really critical nonprofit entity in the Inland Empire that's working with really the youth of the San Bernardino region who are looking to find economic success and student success, and the nonprofit works to really ensure that they have college access and the skills and training that those opportunity youth that Joseph targets to have those chances to be successful. So without further ado, welcome again, Joseph. And I want to kick off our lunch conversation today with my first question is, what'd you have for lunch? Or what are you going to have afterwards? Because I don't see any food in front of you.
Yeah, and so I just gotta say, you may see a little 3-year-old come running by at some point in time, and so we had breakfast for lunch, waffles with peanut butter and some sausages. It was a late breakfast, but yeah, it was pretty good
That
too.
sounds
Yeah.
That sounds delicious. I think we all are giving little caveats to our screens these days. I also have little learners in the background who shared avocado toast with me today for lunch.
Okay.
So you are in good company. Joseph, for our audience today, why don't you share a little bit about your journey into higher education, your values around a college education and how you came to those, and what has led you to the point where you've now been recently appointed to the Board of Governors?
So I'm a first generation college student in my family. And, I started going to community college because I wanted to just get a better job. I was working for the county of San Bernardino, and I was what was considered to be a public service employee. So we didn't really have status, so we were like part-time help. And in order to get a full-time job, you had to have a certain number of units. And so I started out going to Valley College, San Bernardino Valley College, to just get my credits up. In high school, I had went to summer school every single year of my 4 years in high school, so I wasn't your academic student. And so I attended both Crafton Hills and Valley College, and it took me about 10 years to get through community college. I never received an associate's degree. I got enough units to transfer out, and learned a lot while I was there. I was elected as a student trustee while I was at Valley College, and that's how I got pretty much introduced to the policy side of it. And I was involved in student government a bit while I was there. And, I really got engaged and involved because, at first, I was a night student, and the student health services were closed at night, but we still had to pay the health fee, and I didn't want to pay the fee. And so that's
That's
how the
legitimate.
advocacy, yeah, that's how the advocacy kind of got started. Some students had said, like, you need to get involved in student government with us. And then somehow I ended up, becoming student trustee. But then later on, years later, a couple opportunities came about to get appointed to the board, or one opportunity did, and I didn't get it. And then several years later, one of our board members ran and became the county supervisor. And then another appointment came up. I interviewed and I was successful. And then that following year, I ran and was elected to the board. So I serve on the San Bernardino Community College Board, and I'm serving in my second term. And, my goal was to improve the experience for students. I didn't want anybody to have to, take 10 years to get through community college. And my whole perspective is, if we can't graduate people in a reasonable amount of time, they shouldn't have to pay for it. And so, that's, what I'm working on. I support the Chancellor's vision for success and guided pathways, and the whole idea of trying to reduce the amount of time and the number of units that it takes for a student to graduate. What else did you ask me?
Well, I'm going to pivot there for a minute because we have a number of students on our calls today. The Student Senate for the California Community Colleges are represented on the call today, and we have a number of students from your home district at San Bernardino. So, you've just been appointed to the BOG. For those of you that don't know that are on the call, the California Board of Governors is really the governing body that sets policy and guidance for 73 districts, 116 colleges across the state. One of the very important functions of the Board of Governors is selecting the chancellor of the system that has, the responsibility to develop and implement policies for the system. So when we think about what happens in the legislature and the policy environment in which our colleges operate, this is really an important body with authority to create policies, implement policies, hold our colleges accountable for delivering on student success. So as you take kind of your first steps into this role, what are your priorities?
Yeah, I mean, first, I'm trying to do as much listening as possible. So I want to make sure I understand the student perspective and collect as much information from students as possible. I've been talking to faculty. I know the things that I want to get done, but I want to make sure that, you know, I've listened first. What I'm interested in, I don't understand why textbooks are so high in community college. I think students would benefit from having no cost to very low cost textbooks. And so in my district, you know, I'd like to cut at least the cost down of textbooks in half. So that's one thing that I'm interested in seeing happen. Connections to employers in the workforce, really making sure that our course offerings are really connected to our local economies and making sure that, you know, we have a good understanding of what employers and what our local entrepreneurs and small businesses are trying to do so that we can prepare people for the future of work. You know, some folks estimate that the worker of the future is going to need 5 streams of income just to function in our society. And so, you know, I want to know what our colleges are doing to really prepare students for the dynamic workforce, and, you know, making sure that students are getting access to all of the opportunities that they can. You know, I'd like to really see guided pathways implemented at scale, and, you know, to a reasonable extent, you know, how do we get students out in the 2 years that, you know, we say that we're about it. We're 2-year institutions. Are we structuring the course sequences in a way that can get students out in a reasonable? Why is it that I can get my bachelor's? I graduated from the University of Redlands. Took me 2 years to do it. They had block scheduling, and, you know, and then I got my master's in 18 months. And so, you know, how do we create similar situations for students to be able to get in and acquire the skills and the knowledge that they're looking for, and get out? And so those are just a couple of the things. I'm interested in seeing student housing. You know, in our district is something that we're looking at, is how do we provide affordable housing and a nice quality housing solution for our students. And, you know, so those are just a couple of the things, but the first part is, you know, I'm trying to hear what students are really interested in. I'm hoping students will really push for textbooks. You know, I'm like, we need to really make that a student issue. I don't understand why students aren't saying, hey, why are our textbooks so much? When I went to the University of Phoenix, I took a couple classes there. You pay $75 and all your books are available in their online library. I'm like, why isn't the community college set up like that? And so, you know, those are just a couple of things that I'm interested in seeing happen.
That's great. Joseph, you talked a lot about pathways to and through, and that, you know, we shouldn't, it shouldn't be acceptable that students take 10 years to complete an associate's degree, or to be able to transfer, you know, to a 4-year university. I think it shouldn't take 3 or 4 years to do that either. Some of the things I think that have been championed, you know, statewide, that I know you've had a hand in moving along locally in San Bernardino, is work around, you know, improving access to the associate degree for transfer, and ensuring that policies to change how we're placing students into college level English and math, how that work is coming along. So can you share with us a little bit about, you know, what your priorities around that have been in San Bernardino, and what might you be thinking about statewide, given that there is such a vast disparity in how these two kind of policies are being implemented, with some regions and some colleges doing really well and making sure students are on ADT, implementing, to use the jargon, AB 705, really
Yeah.
implementing placement reform well, and others that aren't, and students who are not lucky to be in those good districts don't have the benefits of those policies.
Yeah, locally, you know, there's 2 stories that are happening. You know, there are more students getting access, but locally, our results have kind of been not as, not where we want them to be in terms of the number of students that are actually completing the classes successfully. And so, you know, from a statewide perspective, what, you know, I'd like to see happen is more student support. So if we're allowing students to go into these college level courses, the question is how much are we investing in supporting them with whether it be, remediation or acceleration or whatever the methodology or the pedagogy you're going to use to support them. Is just, are we providing them with the mentoring support that they need? Are they getting the additional math support? Are the classes being stacked in a way that is effective for the students? The type of professional development that we're providing for our faculty so they can differentiate the learning and teach to the different learning styles that are coming in the classroom. And I think just us, what our district is done, a good job at is disaggregating the data so that we know what's happening with different subgroups. I just think we got to do more in thinking about how to support students through and just stay, it sounds like some of the conversation is starting to go backwards. Like, did we do the right thing by letting students in that weren't necessarily traditionally considered to be prepared based on testing standards? Really look at the curriculum. Is what we're teaching the things that people really need to know, and make sure that the relevancy is there. And my experience has been that students are going to school to better themselves and ultimately be able to take care of their families and stuff. And so I'd like to bump the curriculum up against what do employers and what do business owners need for folks to just be successful. So again, student support, professional development for faculty so that they can differentiate the learning, and just continue to be diligent about, we're committed to access, and so we need to do it in a way that's equitable and that keeps the student at the center of it.
Fantastic. I'm excited about what you're going to be bringing to the Board of Governors. Joseph, when I think about, the demographics and the diversity of who serves on the Board of Governors, it's not lost on us that you will be, I think, the only Black male that will be serving on the Board of Governors. I think that's significant right now, and it's important, and it shouldn't be that you're the only one, but it is really important that you are there. And I want to ask the question around why is it important to you that you have this position and that you've been appointed as a Black male to the Board of Governors?
I think I've had a unique experience that lends to being able to add value to the board. I mean, being a trustee means that when I'm sitting in that seat, I'm not starting from scratch. I already understand how districts work. Being a former student, I understand the perspective and the importance of, students need to see themselves in the curriculum. They need to see themselves, among the leaders that are walking the campus. And so just being able to give voice to that from someone who's actually experienced it, I think is important. And I have credibility. So, at all levels of the system, I can say that I've been involved. I mean, I've taught classes, and so I'm excited about the opportunity. I wish there were more, so I don't have to be the only person bringing up the awkward conversations. And so, I think having the support of the folks that are on the call and the campaign to really, you guys got to hold me accountable to the issues too, because when my experience has been is when we are able to say that we're representing a constituency, it's easier to get the votes to move a specific issue. In my district, it takes 4 votes to move something. But if it's Joseph's agenda and not really like a constituent's agenda, I notice that it's harder to move things. And so I think, don't just have me be appointed and then you guys just walk away and say, Joseph's got it. I need your help, your ideas, feedback, and we're going to need patience, recognizing that when I serve on this board, I have to have a statewide perspective versus when I'm in San Bernardino, I get to focus on San Bernardino. So on the BOC, I got to think about the entire state of California and what's best for all of the districts, all of the campuses, and all of the students. And so I'm not there specifically to represent the Inland Empire, but I can express the experience and how the policies will affect that area. And so, I guess what I'm asking for is just the continued partnership and the accountability.
Well, I don't think you're going to have a problem with the campaign holding you accountable. And I want to make sure everybody on the call heard that as well, that, Joseph is asking for your continued input and your continued ideas, I think, around what the Board of Governors needs to be prioritizing. The chancellor's office is investing and has a committee that is talking about, diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts for our California community colleges. When you think about that body of work that could, cover everything from professional development around implicit bias to really rethinking and rehauling how hiring happens, what are your priorities in that space? What do you think are some of the big changes we need to see to be more responsive to our students of color and making our institutions places that are welcoming to students and places that graduate our students of color?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of barriers when it comes to, and I'm just, and I'm talking about now the diversity of like the staff and stuff like that. There's a lot of barriers to try to just get into the system. And so I think one thing that districts can do is really look at job descriptions and, what we write into those job descriptions to make it more inclusive and looking for folks that have experience working with diverse communities. I think that'll change how the committees make their decisions off the bat, diversifying the committees, making sure that, our classified employees have release time so that they can serve on these committees and, diversify the perspective. How we do outreach into the communities too, and, starting early and letting people know about the different opportunities that are available within the districts is really important. I think those are just, a few. It's really important that we get at who is administering the system, because that makes a big deal. Because I can set policy, but if I have a person that doesn't get it, that's responsible for implementing the policy, it doesn't really change things. And so that's why it's important that community people stay at the table, attend local board meetings, because that's where the work happens. The Board of Governors, we can incentivize, we can provide guidance, and but the local trustees have a whole lot of say so when it comes to what happens in individual districts. And so I'm not sure if that completely answered your whole question, but that's just what comes to mind now.
Joseph, I want to pose one more question to you before we get to some of the questions that our audience has. And I want to remind everyone to please put your questions in the question and answer box, and we'll do our best to get to as many of them as we can right after this question. So, Joseph, it's an uncertain time right now, right? We're all in the middle of the pandemic without, a real sense of when a vaccine is on the horizon or not. We are in the middle of, a recession, and lots of people are still unemployed. We have fires all up and down our state. So it's a trying time. We heard last week the California State University system announced that it will be virtual for the majority of its students next semester. What advice do you have for students right now that are in community colleges or, thinking about enrolling this fall? Should they stay in school? What, should they take out loans? Should they take out financial aid? What are you thinking about?
I say come to community college and don't take out no loans. That's what I say. But I mean, each individual situation is different. But just on the broad scale, I say don't give up. Don't stop going to school. Because you'll look back and be like, "Dag, I should have just kept going." Because the time is going to go by regardless. And so it may be difficult to be in the online environment, but there may lend at other advantages and opportunities too. And so I say enroll, stick at it. If it was me, I would go to a community college and save some money, since I'm not going to have that on-campus experience. Because the quality of the education, my experience is that it's the same. And since you're in classes longer, I actually got more out of my classes in community college because of the amount of content that we covered. And so, you know, you create support groups, mastermind groups, so that you can stay motivated. You know, do Zoom chats with one another. But I would not continue my education just because of this virtual environment. You got to adapt, and you have to adjust to it. Now, yeah, that's what I would say. Yeah,
I love it. Adapt and adjust. Don't stop.
yeah.
Adapt and adjust. We have a couple of questions that I'm going to start going through for you from our guests that are joining us. The first question is, you know, how do you plan to engage other board members who may feel that systemic racism doesn't exist within our California community college system?
You know, just be me and share my experience, you know, and you can't change other people, but what you can do is expose them to information, and I'll focus on working with the folks that get it and can continue to communicate with the folks that don't. I'm not going to isolate myself from them, but I'm just going to share my personal experience, and my personal experience says that it does exist. And you know, and I'll just continue to share and hopefully introduce them to other people, other perspectives. I'm going to listen to them and try to get a good understanding of why they don't believe that it exists, and, you know, just ask for their support.
Thank you. Next question is, how can we ease, and this is a big one, how can we ease our parents' concerns around overall cost of college? You know, obviously a lot of students are living in poverty. So what are some things that, you know, students should be and families should know about right now to ease that cost burden?
You know, I'm not sure if I really, you know, completely understand the question, but I mean, if you just look at the pure numbers, you know, maybe we can do a better job at communicating what the total cost is. Um, you know, yeah, I think maybe we do a better job at communicating the total cost of education, and, you know, maybe show visually how it compares across the higher education spectrum, and you know, also show the cost of not taking advantage of education, and you know, just make more orientations and stuff like that available to parents so that they can ask questions and just be available to folks, and provide as much information as possible.
Yeah, I think that's right. I know San Bernardino's done a lot of work to ensure that students and families really know what their options are for financial aid, and
Hmm.
making sure that, you know, if you are in a position to take out a loan, that you still fill out that FAFSA and that you have access to a federal loan, right? That gives you the, you know, the income-based repayment options, and are just much safer than private loans. But I think you raised such a good point about the fact that there's a real cost to not going to college.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so how do you kind of weigh those two things? There is the upfront cost of going, but there is aid to assist you, but there's a high cost to not having a college degree, especially in today's economy.
yeah,
I'm sure
yeah,
you see this with your students within the Youth Action Project.
yeah, definitely. You could just see the difference in income. So folks that have gone to college and folks that don't, or at least just have at least some advanced level education.
Next question is around, is this, you know, how do we move from boutique programs that focus on equity and inclusion on certain campuses and shift towards statewide policies and practices?
I mean, so if I understand the question is, so like, how do we scale a program across the whole? Yeah,
Right.
it's challenging in that. So like the chancellor has the ability to put out an initiative like guided pathways. We don't have the ability to dictate to local districts, hey, you should run this program. My understanding of it is that we can incentivize it, and so I think just the best practice is really looking at those programs that are working and promoting them, providing technical assistance. So like if it's middle college, say, for example, like how do we scale middle college across the state? I think really us doing a better job at highlighting how it impacts students' lives, and then us being willing to invest in the technical assistance that's needed for districts to take advantage of it and implement it. But I know as a local trustee, I know how I would feel about having the state come in and say, you got to run this program. Because the feeling is that each community is unique and is different. And so, the campuses want to be able to have the ability to, establish and develop their own programs. But I think the BOC can create standards around what program should be achieving. And so you come up with your approach on how you're going to do it, but this is the standard. So like AB 705, the standard is that, we're going to increase access. And so, and then maybe my perspective will change as I sit in the seat more and learn more about what the board can do and what it has done. But, I'm open to hearing other perspectives on that specific question.
Great. We have a question about dual enrollment, and what are your thoughts on dual enrollment and other programs that are, intersegmental in nature?
Yeah, I think it's important. It's something that I've personally have introduced principals to our college presidents so that they can, do more dual enrollment and get the courses that they want on their campuses. And, a lot of it is just figuring out the logistics and how to implement it and make sure that the students have a good experience. But I've been, so there's one school district that was hiring a new superintendent, and my feedback to the board was that, like, I want you to hire somebody that will make the associate's degree the new high school diploma. So like if we can, that should be the standard for it. And so like if we can expose students early to this kind of stuff, to our courses, I'm all for it.
That's great. I love it. The associate degree is, or the first 2 years of community college, really being the new default high school, requirement, so to speak.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah.
We have a question about, what you can do to encourage more people of color to run for and be appointed to kind of these positions of power. You shared a little bit with us about, how you came in through student advocacy. So talk to us a little bit about that. And what do you encourage people to do and how to do it?
I mean, one of the things that I'm doing is I support an initiative that is implemented by the Blue Educational Foundation, and is specifically designed to, it's focused on African Americans. Anybody can participate, but they learn about boards and commissions, how to serve. They learn about what it's like to run for elected office. And so, I volunteer, I speak. I've partnered with the governor's secretary of appointments to host appointments workshops throughout the community. And, I just make myself available to people and show them how to fill out the application and, just talk to them about my experience. This is my third state appointment. And so, I've been serving on state boards since 2012 or 2013. And so it's a great experience. I encourage people and just try to model, hey, try it out. Even if you serve on a local city or county commission or get on a nonprofit board. But I think supporting programs like Blue, Emerge, there's Women's Lead. There's a bunch of programs out there, the New Leaders Council. And so I just try to make those programs available to people by sharing it on social media. And then through my company, we do corporate sponsorships and support those programs.
We have a question about programs for formerly incarcerated students. At the campaign, we're actually in the process of finishing up a brief that we'll be sharing and publishing later this year that talks about kind of the landscape, what programs currently exist for both within our public colleges and universities, both inside penal institutions, as well as programs on campus for formerly incarcerated students. And we'll talk a little bit about some of what's working, some of what's not working, and really what, what are the things policy wise we can be doing to better serve that community, recognizing that there is a large percentage of our young Latino males, our young Black males are in the criminal justice system, and need to have opportunities to pursue higher education. What are some of your thoughts on either what you've done at San Bernardino or what you'd like to bring to the BOG when it comes to higher education for formerly incarcerated and incarcerated individuals?
Yeah, thank you for the question. It's something that I definitely have experience with. I spent 3 years working for the county sheriff's department, and I used to coordinate the reentry program out at Glen Helen Rehabilitation Center, and so I used to teach pre-release. And so, I have a lot of experience working with ex-offenders. At our district, we have a job training program specifically for ex-offenders where we have a contract to do highway and freeway maintenance work. And so it's all ex-offenders that get the job experience. And then we try to help them get jobs with Caltrans. I serve on the state workforce development board, on the local workforce board. Maybe we need a committee of the BOG of formerly incarcerated people that we can process with and think about ideas. And it would be cool to find out what's already taken place in other districts and look at what's working well and figure out how we can kind of just promote those more and figure out what could be scaled across the district, or what at least can be shared with other districts. Yeah, I think that, what I bring to it is I have direct experience. So it's something that I can definitely have conversations about with other trustees. I like to find out what's already taken place in the other areas. And then even in our district, what can we do more of? What do we need to do less of? And so, yeah.
That's exciting. I think that's a really important body of work. We have many more questions, and what I'm going to commit to doing is getting those to you via email, and we can get your responses and share them online so that everyone has an opportunity to get your thoughts on their questions for you. Before we let you go, though, I've got some lightning round, quick second questions for you.
Okay.
So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you strapped in?
Yeah, I'm strapped in. You see, I got my little gamer chair here.
I
Right?
love it. All right. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Yes.
Cream and sugar.
I love it. What's in your Netflix queue?
Right now, well, I watch Amazon Prime. I'm watching Billions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm watching Billions. Yeah.
All right. The Dodgers or the Giants?
The Lakers.
Ah. Dodgers,
I'll go
everyone.
with the Dodgers.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go with the Dodgers, but it's the Lakers, really. Though.
You see my Dodger blue.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
What is your go-to snack?
My go-to snack right now is celery and peanut butter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you put the little raisins on it?
Oh, I haven't tried that. I'm gonna have to check that out. Yeah.
Kids love that. What is your favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Your most used emoji?
Laughing.
Your best quarantine survival tip?
Push-ups.
What was the last campus you visited?
Valley College.
The last book you read or listened to?
What am I'm listening to right now. Well, the Reconstruction. I can't remember the name, but it's by W.E. Du Bois on the Reconstruction period.
One word about the 2020 presidential election.
Well, vote. Vote. That's the word. Vote. Please vote. Vote.
Vote.
Yeah.
And your most common thought before you go to sleep?
My most who?
Your most common thought before you go to sleep?
I love my wife and my family. Yeah.
I love it. A wife, how many babies?
one baby, one toddler, and two adults.
Ah, I
Yeah.
love it. Joseph, if people on the line want to reach out to you, what are your Twitter handles? How do you prefer to be contacted without giving us your personal cell? Should they just what's your
Yeah.
handle?
Yeah. So on Twitter, I think I'm at Trustee Williams, and then I'm just Joseph Williams and on LinkedIn, and then you can email me at info@josephrwilliams.com.
Wonderful. Well, I have to say you were a fantastic guest to kick off our lunch series today. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for being willing to be honest and share the things that are going through your mind and the priorities that you have. I think you're going to represent our communities so well on the Board of Governors. We're here to support you. We're here to hold you accountable. We're here to give you ideas about how we all think we can improve student success for all students. I hope all of you had a great time today, and I hope that you'll join us for future lunchtime conversations that are forthcoming. We don't have a date yet, but we know that our next lunchtime series will be with Mr. Steve No, who is from San Francisco, an attorney. Steve was just appointed as a commissioner to the California Student Aid Commission, which oversees all of our financial aid distribution and oversight of the Cal Grant, as well as the DREAM Act loan and the DREAM dollars there. So look for that date and that opportunity coming up in November. Thank you everyone for giving us a little bit of your time today, and make sure you reach out to Joseph. Thanks
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.